My father told me that if I marry you, they will throw me out of the royal palace. And I didn't even flinch. Because what they call a palace, I call a prison, a golden cage where love is arranged, not felt, where rules matter more than hearts, and appearances hold more value than truth. They think marble floors and diamond chandeliers are enough to make me stay, but none of it shines like your eyes when you look at me, like I'm not just royalty but real. I would choose your hands over every crown they've ever tried to place on my head. Let them throw me out. Let them strip away the title, the name, the legacy, because none of that ever made me feel as alive as I do when I'm with you. They say love should be wise, calculated, politically convenient, but you make me want to be foolish, to risk everything I was born into, to gamble the safety of legacy for the danger of a real future with you. They don't understand my father sees you as beneath us, someone without rank, without lineage. But he doesn't see the way you carry storms in your silence, the way you protect what you love without needing an army. He doesn't see the way your touch rewrites centuries of cold traditions, the way you make me feel like I was born not to obey but to rebel, to live, to choose you, you, who never asked me to be a princess. You, who wanted my heart, not my bloodline. I have dined with kings, danced under chandeliers with men whose suits cost more than villages, but none of them ever held my soul the way you do. None of them ever looked at me like I was more than a pretty name in history. With you, I'm not a daughter of power, I'm a woman with fire in her veins and freedom in her choice. My father's threats, their warnings, their shame, I hear it all, and still, I choose you. Because palaces can crumble, bloodlines fade. But love like this, it doesn't come twice in a lifetime. If they throw me out, so be it. I'll walk barefoot, head high, into the chaos of the world, as long as your hand is wrapped around mine. Let them gossip. Let them call me foolish, reckless, even disloyal. But I'll tell them this. I found loyalty not in their halls, but in your arms. I found home not in their mansions, but in your quiet promises. And I would rather be yours in ruin than be theirs in riches. They warned me, you would ruin me. That you would pull me away from everything noble, everything honorable, but what they don't understand is I was already ruined. I was already breaking in silence, stitched together by expectations I never asked to carry. You didn't ruin me, you rescued me. From a life chosen for me before I even knew how to breathe on my own. From a world where I was meant to smile and bow and marry for alliances instead of love. You looked at me like I was mine before I was theirs. And for that, I would let the whole kingdom burn behind me. I remember the night I told you what my father said, the way your jaw clenched, your fists curled, like you were ready to fight a whole dynasty just to keep me safe, but you never asked me to choose. You just stood there, silently, waiting, giving me space to walk away, if the price was too high. And that's how I knew you were my forever. Because real love never demands, it just stands. Steady, brave, unshaken. And now, every time I step outside those royal gates, I don't feel exiled. I feel free. Free to laugh without being watched. Free to love without seeking permission. Free to be a woman who chooses her own fate, not one handed down through blood or law. They say I've disgraced the crown, but the truth is, I've finally honored my heart, and maybe one day, they'll see that choosing love isn't weakness, it's the strongest thing I've ever done. So, let them call me fallen royalty. Let them write their headlines and whisper behind their diamond walls. I have something they will never understand, a love unfiltered, uncaged, unapologetic. And if that love comes with a cost, then I've already paid it in full. Because the moment I chose you, I reclaimed myself, not as a princess, but as a woman who dared to choose the fire and found heaven inside it. They said I was walking away from a crown, but they didn't understand I was walking toward something far rarer, something purer. Toward the one person who looked at me not as an asset, not as a pawn in some royal legacy, but as a living, breathing woman who deserved to be loved, not owned. They told me I was throwing my future away, but what they don't realize is, a future without love, that's not a future at all, that's just survival in gold-plated chains. You never asked me to give anything up. You never begged or pleaded. You just stood quietly, like a storm that had already made peace with the damage it would cause and the healing it would bring. When I looked into your eyes, I saw 1,000 rebellions waiting to be written, and somehow, all of them felt like home. I didn't choose you for how safe you made me feel. I chose you, because even in the chaos, even when the world threatened to break us, you were the only peace I ever knew. And now, I stand here, stripped of titles but cloaked in something richer, your love. A love that doesn't glitter like diamonds, but burns like wildfire through every inch of me. I used to wake up wondering who I had to be to survive another day in that palace. Now, I wake up beside you, and for the first time, I feel alive. Not polished, not perfect. Just alive. Messy, raw, sacred. And I wouldn't trade that for every throne in the world. They may have disowned me, but they cannot erase what lives in my chest, this fierce, unrelenting devotion to the man who didn't just fall in love with me, but fought for me. You didn't need a crown to stand tall. You made me realize that I didn't either. You are my rebellion, my revolution, my quiet escape from a world I no longer fit into. And if loving you means I lose everything, then let me lose it all. Because in your arms, I found everything I was told I'd never have. They warned me you would ruin everything. That choosing you would dismantle centuries of tradition, drag my name through the mud, and erase me from every painting in the palace halls. But what they didn't know, what they could never understand, is that I was already ruined long before you. Ruined by loneliness disguised as luxury, by expectations dressed up as duty. And then you came along, not with a crown, not with promises, but with truth, with eyes that didn't see a prince, just a man, broken, tired, yearning. You asked me once why I chose you. I couldn't answer it then, but I know now. I chose you because your love didn't come with conditions. You didn't want the palace, the title, or the throne. You only ever wanted me, and that terrified me. Because all my life, people loved the idea of me, the symbol, the heir, but you waited patiently for the man beneath all that. You saw the scars under the silk, and you didn't flinch. You stayed. Even now, when the world speaks my name with shame, you hold my hand with pride. You stand beside me, like I still wear a crown, only now, it's invisible, stitched from the loyalty in your heart and the fire in your soul. We've lost everything. But somehow, I've never felt richer. Because no amount of gold could give me the peace I find when I hold you close and remember. You were the first person I ever chose for myself. They can lock the palace gates. They can strip the titles from my name, but they can never take this us. They will never understand that some love stories are written not in scrolls or royal decrees, but in whispered midnight promises and the quiet defiance of two souls choosing each other again and again. I don't need their approval anymore. I only need your voice, steady and certain, saying, I'm still here. Because with that, I can survive anything. They tell me love is a weakness a prince cannot afford. But how do I explain that not loving you would be the true betrayal? That turning away from you would be the death of everything real inside me. I have stood in front of kings and warriors and never felt fear the way I did the first time I looked into your eyes and realized I could lose you. That I might have to live a life where I wore a crown but slept beside a stranger. No throne is worth that kind of emptiness. My father calls you a mistake. But how could you be, when every time you touch me, I feel whole for the first time? They say your hands are too calloused for royalty, that your words lack the polished obedience of the court, but I don't want obedience. I want someone who speaks their truth, even when it shakes the earth beneath us. And you are thunder and rebellion and everything I was taught to fear. Yet here I am, worshipping the storm that carries your name. Every step I take away from the palace, I take toward you. And though the path is steep and lined with judgment, I walk it gladly. Because you wait for me at the end, not with riches or recognition, but with love so fierce it burns away doubt. You've never asked me to choose, never once begged me to risk everything for you. That's what makes this love so devastatingly powerful. It is mine to fight for. Let them exile me. Let them erase me from their legacy. I'll build a new one with you. One, where we are kings and queens of a world carved from our own pain, stitched together by nights we didn't think we'd survive, and mornings we woke up still in each other's arms. They say history will forget me. But I don't care, as long as your heart remembers. They think the crown defines me. That gold on my head is heavier than the fire in my heart. But they don't see how your name lingers on my breath when I stand in those cold royal halls. They don't know how I've memorized every shade of your voice, how your laughter feels like rebellion in a world where silence is expected from love. My father speaks of exile, like it's a punishment. But he doesn't understand. Being without you is the real exile. Living in that palace without your touch, without your eyes tracing the lines of my soul, that is the true banishment. He thinks threats will break me, that I will fold beneath the weight of my birthright, but he underestimates the war you've awakened in me. Because for the first time, I'm not a prince following the rules of a kingdom. I'm a man in love, and I would burn 1,000 thrones to keep your name safe on my tongue. Let them call me foolish. Let them call me mad. I'll wear madness proudly, if it means waking up beside you instead of drowning in the loneliness of gold-plated lies. They expect me to marry for power, for alliances, for bloodlines. But love doesn't ask for bloodlines. It asks for sacrifice. For sleepless nights spent holding hands in silence when the world outside is too loud. It asks for honesty. And you've given me nothing but the rawest truth, your fears, your wounds, your love. No palace has ever offered me that. No kingdom has ever felt as real as the world we build when I hold you close. So let them close their gates. Let them lock their royal doors behind me. I will not beg to be let in. I will not kneel for a family who measures worth by blood and title. I'd rather kneel before you not because I must, but because I choose to. Because your love makes me more than a prince. It makes me human, and that is the kind of royalty I want to carry forever.